If I walked up to you on the street right now, held out my hand and asked you to give me $100 from your wallet, you would rightfully refuse. You would probably look at me like I was completely out of my mind. You instinctively protect your money. You lock your doors at night, you carefully check your bank statements, and you guard your physical assets with immense caution. But every single day, ordinary, hardworking people leave the vault to their most valuable asset completely wide open. They allow bosses, social media algorithms, and minor manufactured emergencies to steal 3, 4, or 5 hours of their day without a second thought. They hand over their time to anyone who asks for it. And they usually do not realize the devastating compounding cost of this theft until decades have passed. There is one absolute unavoidable law of the universe that applies to every single person on this earth, regardless of how much money they have sitting in a brokerage account. We all get exactly 24 hours today. I do not get a single minute more than you do. You cannot buy more of it, you cannot borrow it from a bank, and you cannot save today's unused hours in a safe deposit box to spend them tomorrow. Time is the ultimate non-renewable capital. Yet it is endlessly fascinating to watch how human beings behave. We will negotiate fiercely over a 3% raise at our jobs, or spend an hour driving across town to save $20 on a household purchase. But we will casually throw away entire evenings staring at a glowing rectangle, consuming noise that adds absolutely zero value to our lives. We treat paper money as if it is sacred, and we treat our finite, irreplaceable time as if it is infinite. If you want to understand why so many people feel completely trapped by their financial circumstances, overwhelmed by stress, and entirely disconnected from the life they actually wanted to build, you have to look closely at this exact paradox. People very rarely ruin their lives or destroy their potential in one giant dramatic explosion. You do not wake up on a Tuesday morning and make one colossal mistake that permanently wipes out your future. Instead, you lose your life quietly. You lose it day by day, hour by hour, in the repeated, almost unnoticeable surrender of your daily routine. It is a slow, steady leak in the hull of your ship. I call this the trap of the drift. When you do not take active, deliberate ownership of your 24 hours, you naturally fall into a state of permanent reaction. You wake up and immediately the outside world dictates your mood, your priorities, and your focus. You respond to the urgent emails, you put out the minor fires at the office, you react to the breaking news alerts, and you navigate the chaotic traffic. By the time the sun goes down, you are physically exhausted and mentally depleted. You feel incredibly busy, but when you look back at the day, you realize you did not take a single meaningful step forward. You survived the day, but you did not steer it. You are simply drifting in the current of other people's demands. This state of permanent drift has massive, tangible consequences for your financial security and your peace of mind. Your earning power, your ability to solve complex problems, and your capacity to build wealth are directly tied to how you allocate your daily time capital. If your focus is constantly fractured, you cannot compound a new skill. If your energy is entirely drained by reactive tasks, you cannot plot a strategic career move. The chronic money pressure that so many working families feel is deeply connected to this loss of daily control. When you surrender your time, you surrender your autonomy. You become completely dependent on your next paycheck, simply because you have never carved out the protected hours required to build an alternative path. The modern internet will tell you that the solution to this problem is sheer punishing effort. There is an entire industry of productivity gurus and motivational speakers who sell a very specific toxic brand of hustle theater. They scream at you through your screen, telling you that if you want to master your life, you need to wake up at 3 in the morning, take an ice bath, skip meals, and grind on a side business until you collapse. They promote the idea that sleep is for the weak, and that any hour not spent monetizing your existence is a wasted hour. They frame time management as a brutal endurance sport where the person who suffers the most wins. Well, let me be perfectly clear about this. That approach is mathematically flawed, biologically dangerous, and a guaranteed recipe for misery. The people who truly build lasting wealth and enduring emotional stability do not operate with that kind of frantic, desperate intensity. They do not treat their bodies like machines to be run into the ground. They understand that you cannot punish your way to a better life. Exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It is a blaring alarm that you have completely lost control of your boundaries. True high performers do not do more things faster. They actually do fewer things, but they do them with absolute, quiet, unshakable intention. Mastering your 24 hours is not about becoming a hyper-efficient corporate robot. It is about taking a step back and reclaiming your humanity from an economy that wants to turn your attention into a commodity. It requires a fundamental shift in how you view the transitions of your day. It means understanding that the quiet moments of your morning are the psychological margin of safety for your mind. It means recognizing that deep, uninterrupted focus is the only true leverage an ordinary worker has to increase their value, and it requires the absolute conviction that your evening hours belong to you and the people you love, not to the lingering anxieties of your workplace. Today, we are going to completely deconstruct how the most grounded, successful individuals manage their daily time capital. We are going to strip away the exhausting cliches and the fake productivity hacks, and we are going to look at a highly practical, deeply humane framework. This is a daily protocol designed for the ordinary, hardworking person who wants to lower their money pressure, increase their earning power, and ultimately point their life in a direction they actually choose. We will explore why the first hour of your day dictates your emotional baseline and why multitasking is a financial illusion that destroys your potential. We will draw a hard, critical line between genuinely recovering your energy and merely escaping reality on your couch. And we will see why fiercely protecting your sleep is one of the strongest forms of self-protection you have. Time is the only capital you are mathematically guaranteed to run out of. It is time to stop leaving the vault open. Let us begin by looking closely at the single greatest threat to your daily potential, the trap of the reactive workday. If you want to understand why so many hardworking people never manage to escape financial anxiety, you have to look closely at exactly what happens during the very first hour of their workday. Most people arrive at their job with good intentions. You sit down at your desk, set down your coffee, and you might even have a vague idea of a few important things you want to accomplish. But then you make a fatal, almost automatic mistake. You open your email inbox or you log into your company's internal chat system. In that exact fraction of a second, you completely surrender the steering wheel of your day. You have instantly shifted from offense to defense, and you have stepped directly into the trap of the reactive workday. The modern corporate environment is brilliantly engineered to keep you in a permanent state of reaction. From the moment your screen lights up, you are bombarded by a conveyor belt of other people's priorities. There is an urgent email from a client, a frantic direct message from a coworker who cannot find a file, and a sudden calendar invite for a mandatory meeting that starts in 10 minutes. You immediately start putting out these little fires. You answer the questions, you locate the missing files, and you rush into the conference room. You are moving incredibly fast, and you are expending a massive amount of cognitive energy. But if you look closely at what is actually happening, you will notice something deeply alarming. You are not executing your own plan. You are simply reacting to the immediate demands of your environment. You are acting as a human router for information, taking requests from one side and passing data to the other. And because the modern economy possesses an infinite number of these small urgent demands, you can spend an entire 8-hour shift operating entirely in this defensive posture. You spend your whole day playing the role of a goalie. You are constantly blocking shots that are being fired at you, but you are never actually moving down the field to score a point for your own life. This creates a highly dangerous illusion. In the modern workplace, we have completely confused busyness with actual progress. When you clear out 50 unread emails and reply to 20 instant messages before lunch, your brain releases a small, satisfying hit of dopamine. You feel incredibly productive. You feel like you are working hard and earning your paycheck. The system rewards you for this behavior. Your manager praises you for being a team player, and your coworkers appreciate how quickly you respond to their crises. But being highly responsive is not the same thing as becoming more valuable. The economic marketplace does not pay a massive premium to people who can answer an email within 30 seconds. It does not hand out financial independence to employees who are simply excellent at attending useless meetings. The marketplace pays a premium for rare, specialized skills. It pays highly for the ability to solve complex problems, to think strategically, and to execute deep, uninterrupted work that actually moves the needle for a business. The tragic reality of the reactive workday is that it completely destroys your ability to do that high-value work. Every single time you pause a difficult task to check a notification or answer a quick question, you pay a massive cognitive tax. It takes the human brain an extraordinary amount of time to refocus after an interruption. If your attention is fractured every 10 minutes by a ping on your phone or a coworker stopping by your desk, you will never reach the level of deep focus required to compound a new skill. You are spending your days operating in the shallow waters of distraction, while all the true financial rewards are hidden out in the deep end. This constant state of reaction creates a deep humming anxiety that sits quietly in the background of your life. Human beings are not biologically designed to remain in a state of high alert responsiveness for 10 straight hours. When you are constantly anticipating the next urgent message or the next minor crisis, your nervous system never has a chance to settle. You feel a profound lack of control because you genuinely are out of control. Your daily schedule is at the absolute mercy of anyone who decides to send you a message. This is exactly why you can leave the office at 5 o'clock feeling physically exhausted and mentally drained, yet carry a hollow, frustrating feeling that you accomplished absolutely nothing of real substance. You gave your absolute best energy to the corporate machine. You put out a dozen tiny fires, but you moved 0 inches closer to your own financial freedom. You survived the shift, but you did not build any permanent architecture for your future. You just ran on a treadmill that someone else was controlling. When this pattern repeats itself day after day, month after month, the financial consequences become incredibly severe. A reactive worker is a stagnant worker because you are never carving out the quiet, focused time to upgrade your own human capital. Your earning power hits a permanent ceiling. You become highly efficient at the routine tasks of your current job, but you never develop the rare leverage required to demand a higher salary or to transition into a more lucrative career. You get stuck in the exact same wage bracket, slowly falling behind the rising cost of living, while silently wondering why your hard work is not translating into actual wealth. People who have successfully built lasting wealth and enduring careers approach their days with a fundamentally different mindset. They understand that the world will gladly spend your time for you if you do not spend it yourself. They recognize that if they leave the vault door open, the chaotic demands of the office will steal every single minute of their focus. They refuse to accept the premise that being a good employee means being permanently accessible to every random distraction. To escape the trap of the reactive workday, you have to make a definitive choice to step out of the current. You have to realize that true earning progress requires periods of absolute, unshakable control over your own attention. You cannot simply hope that today will be quieter than yesterday. You cannot wait for your boss to suddenly decide to give you fewer interruptions. The corporate environment will never voluntarily give you your time back. It is designed to extract it. You have to actively, intentionally take it back. This reclaiming of your time cannot start in the middle of a chaotic afternoon. By the time 2 o'clock rolls around, the momentum of the day has already been decided, and your cognitive battery is already halfway depleted. If you want to break the cycle of reaction, you have to build a protective wall around the very beginning of your day. You need to establish a physical and psychological buffer that sets the terms of engagement before the world is allowed to speak to you. To do that, we have to look closely at the architecture of the morning and how ordinary people can build a critical margin of safety before the workday even begins. In the world of investing and capital allocation, there is one foundational concept that serves as the absolute bedrock of long-term survival. It is an idea so critical that without it, financial ruin is mathematically inevitable over a long enough timeline. That concept is called the margin of safety. When structural engineers build a bridge that needs to carry 10,000 tons of daily traffic, they do not design the steel cables to hold exactly 10,000 tons. They design the bridge to hold 40 or 50,000 tons. They build in a massive invisible buffer so that when an unexpected storm hits or a completely unpredictable load crosses the span, the structure does not collapse into the river. They engineer the bridge to survive the worst-case scenario without sustaining any permanent damage. The exact same principle must be applied to your psychological health and your daily schedule. If you want to survive the unpredictable, highly stressful demands of the modern workplace, you must build a margin of safety for your own mind. The problem is that the vast majority of ordinary, hardworking people wake up every single morning with an absolute margin of zero. They set their alarms for the latest possible minute. They calculate the exact amount of time it takes to shower, get dressed, and rush out the door. The moment their eyes open, they are already running late. They are immediately thrown into a chaotic, high-stress scramble, desperately trying to find their car keys, skipping a proper breakfast, and sitting in traffic while their cortisol levels skyrocket. When you start your day this way, you are stepping onto a bridge that is already carrying its maximum weight limit. The slightest disruption, a spilled cup of coffee, a minor delay on the highway, or an unexpected email from your boss is enough to make the entire structure of your day collapse into frustration. You arrive at your desk completely out of breath, already playing on the defensive and carrying a heavy load of anxiety before the workday has even officially begun. Now, if you spend any time on the internet seeking advice on how to fix this, you will immediately run into a very loud, highly profitable industry of productivity gurus. They will tell you that the secret to success is to turn yourself into a machine. They will insist that you must wake up at 4 in the morning, jump into a freezing ice bath, run 5 miles in the dark, and complete a 20-step optimization routine before the sun comes up. They frame the morning as a brutal, punishing boot camp where you must conquer your weakness through sheer physical exhaustion. I want you to completely ignore that toxic advice. That kind of extreme theatrical routine is not sustainable for an ordinary working adult who has a family, a demanding job, and a biological need for rest. It is a recipe for severe burnout, and it completely misses the point of why the morning is actually valuable. The goal of waking up a little earlier is not to cram more exhausting work into your 24 hours. The goal is to carve out a quiet, highly protected psychological buffer. You are not trying to win an endurance sport. You are simply trying to build a margin of safety for your mind. To achieve this, I suggest something infinitely more humane, gentle, and practical. You simply need to wake up 30 to 45 minutes before the world is allowed to make a single demand on your time. That is the entire secret. You do not need to wake up